Keith here with another video blog. Have you ever been in a situation where you're really looking forward to something only to have it turn out not the way you wanted it to? Like maybe you're going on a big vacation and you're heading down somewhere tropical and you're looking forward to laying out on the beach and catching some sun. But then you get there and the whole time it rains. Or maybe your favorite artist is releasing some new music, or you're going to their concert and you get there only to find out that seeing them live isn't exactly as good as seeing them on your iPhone. Or maybe there's that person that you've been wanting to go on a date with for a really, really long time, and you've been working up the nerve to ask them out and hoping they would ask you out, and you're finally out and you're sitting across the table from them, and then you realize you've got absolutely nothing to talk to this person about. I guess at the end of the day, what I'm talking about is hype. I'm talking about getting excited for something and really looking forward to something, only to be really disappointed in the end. And with that, I begin my review of The Man of Steel. Now, I knew going into this that Zack Snyder, the man behind 300 and The Watchmen, was directing this movie. And if it was just Zack Snyder's name attached to it, I probably wouldn't have been looking forward to this movie. But Christopher Nolan, the great Christopher Nolan behind Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises, Inception, Memento, all these great movies, was producing it. So I thought, well, if Christopher Nolan is involved, it's got to be a great movie, right? Well, let me tell you this. You've got Quentin Tarantino, who directed Pulp Fiction, who directed Inglourious Basterds, but he produced Hostel 2. So that alone should tell you that, and I learned a lesson, just because somebody's producing a movie doesn't necessarily the movie's going to be good. Now, I'm not saying that Zack Snyder's not a good filmmaker. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying, he's no Christopher Nolan. Now, some people will tell you that doing Superman is a very difficult task. It's a very difficult task to make a Superman movie. You look at the movies back in the 80s, and 70s and 80s that came out with Christopher Reeve, and they were for 70s and 80s audiences. I mean, they were entertaining. Superman 2 to this day is still one of my all-time favorite superhero movies. Superman 1 I found dragged on, and Superman 3 and 4 I could have done without, but I thought Superman 2 was awesome. Then from there we had Superman Returns, which came out several years ago with Brandon Routh, who turned out to be a one-hit wonder, and Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor. I think Academy Award-winning actor Kevin Spacey's fantastic, but not even Kevin Spacey could save that movie. It wasn't very entertaining. So now we've got this latest installment, and we've been seeing trailers upon trailers getting us all excited for this final release date. Now, the interesting thing is, when I first started watching the trailers on this movie, I kind of put myself to sleep, because to me it just looked like backstory. It looked like backstory upon backstory upon backstory, and I just thought to myself, comparatively, this would be like Batman Begins, where we get all the story and then we don't really get into the meat of it until we get into sequels. Well, you know what? The last few trailers that came out showed us a bit of action, and from that I was very excited. I went into this movie looking forward to seeing it, and I will take a step back and say that I'm not necessarily saying that Christopher Nolan or Zack Snyder are out saying this is going to be the greatest Superman movie of all time, but us as fans are really looking forward to it. And in my opinion, they didn't deliver. So pretty much it's the same story. You have this baby who comes from Krypton, who's shipped to Earth, grows up on Earth, has these powers, wants to do right by Earth. General Zod from Krypton comes in, wants to destroy Earth. Superman has to save it. Blah blah blah. That's pretty much the gist of the movie without going into any major plot points and ruining it for anybody. But aside from that, I think to myself, you look at over at Marvel Comics, the franchise or the company that's behind movies like The Avengers, Iron Man, Hulk, all those movies. They have got it right. And last year when they released The Avengers, there was so much pressure on that company to deliver a fantastic movie, and they did that. They delivered. But with this movie, I feel that DC Comics, the same company behind Batman and behind Superman, has completely fallen flat on their face. I'm not going to spoil anything, but what I will tell you is that if you're looking for some sort of Justice League tie-in at the end of the credits, don't. Nothing's going to happen. What I will tell you is that in terms of the movie itself, it is an enjoyable movie, but it's pretty much been the same as being there, done that. Seen it all before. There's nothing overly exciting that stands out about this movie. Amy Adams plays Lois Lane. She's in it pretty much for the most of the movie. I didn't realize that Superman had a partner. Batman had Robin. I guess Superman has Lois Lane. See the movie, you'll see what I mean. As far as Henry Cavill as Superman, I think he does a great job. I just think there's a lot of other things that could have been fixed with this movie. General Zod, played by Michael Shannon, I felt to be pretty flat. Again, when you look at some, and it might not be a fair comparison, but when you look at some of the villains that we've seen in the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight series, with Heath Ledger as well as Tom Hardy, Michael Shannon doesn't come close. Michael Shannon shouldn't even be sitting at that grown-up table. He should be off to the side on the kids' table. As far as some of the other characters, again, one-dimensional. Nothing too exciting there at all. Now, should you go see this movie? Sure, you should see it. But I'm saying I'm giving this movie a C+. I'm saying if you're the type of person that doesn't go to a lot of movies often and you're not sure what you should go and see, right now I would definitely recommend going to see either The Purge or Now You See Me and waiting to see this one on video. I don't necessarily think that this is the best effort that could have been put forth. It's a shame that Christopher Nolan felt he shouldn't be directing this movie. I think it would have been a lot better if he had. Again, as always, you can check out my reviews on Twitter at CFL_fan, as well as my Facebook page at facebook.com/WhittyWhittier. Thanks for checking this out, and I'll see you at the movies.